card debt is one of the most stressful things to have, hence the T. It can be really stressful because it's a lot of money hanging over your head all the time. But here's the truth, you can pay it off faster than you think. And today I'm going to show you step by step exactly how you can do that. But to get started, I need some tea. I'm not getting paid by the company, but if they want to send me like, I don't know, a pallet of these, I'll take them. Best tea ever. And I like my tea extra strong, so do. So today I'm going to show you step by step how you can get rid of your credit card debt. Will it be easy? No. Is it going to be fun? Probably not. But you can get rid of your credit card debt. But before we dive right in, let's talk about why credit card debt is so bad. The average credit card has an APR, which is your average percentage rate over the year, of between 20 to 30%. That means for every $1,000 that you borrow, you're going to have to pay back between $200 to $300 extra. So that's how much it's going to cost you in interest. So if it's 20%, if you have $1,000 on a credit card, that's going to be $200. Now you can see if the average American home has $7,000, and let's just say that they're at 20%. If they're at 20%, well, that's 200 times 7. That's $1,400 extra that you're paying just to have borrowed the money in the first place. And this is the part that credit cards don't want you to know. Here's the trap that you're going to see on your credit card. And that's going to be these magical words called minimum payment. If you just pay the minimum payment, it literally could take you decades to pay off that credit card debt. Who wants that? And credit cards know this. They know that most people are going to pay the minimum payment. That's how they make billions, with a B, billions of dollars every year off of the minimum payment. When you make the minimum payment, you're paying just a little bit of the principal. So now you're charged more interest, which is added back into the balance, and your debt gets even deeper because you're not making more than the minimum payment to get rid of the principal. And don't get hung up on the terminology. Principal just means the balance. So the very first step to paying off your credit card debt is to stop adding to it, because you can't get out of a hole if you're in the hole and you continue to dig. And that's the part that kind of you're going to have to press hold on your credit use. And I know from somebody from experience that kind of is annoying, because we are so based on convenience. We like convenience of having things when we want them, like a cup of tea. And it's really hard sometimes to not buy things when you want them. But for the time period where you're getting rid of your credit card debt, you are going to have to put a pause on buying things that you don't actually truly need to function in life. Some people suggest that you take the cards out of your wallet, that you put them in a drawer, that you freeze them in a block of ice. I'm not really sure how that works. I guess you put them in a plastic bag and then put them in the water and then put that in the freezer. But I don't know how that would work with a credit card, if it would damage it. Anyways, the main thing is to stop using the cards. Now, I don't like carrying cash. And the reason for this is because I don't like carrying cash. And the thing of it is if I went to a cash-based system, just going to the grocery store would mean I would need to carry between $200 to $300 on me for grocery shopping. I'm not going to carry that much cash on me. Instead, what I do, and I'm not going to carry a debit card either, because a debit card doesn't have any protection. So if somebody has my debit card and they're able to get into my account, I don't have any protection. It's going to take me a long time to get that money back. And it's going to be very frustrating and very tedious to get the money back. So I prefer to use a credit card. And what we did is when we started paying off our debt, we went to one credit card to rule them all, so to speak. And that was the card that got used for all purchases. That way it was easier to track where we were spending money at. And also, when you know that it's going to be on that credit card, you're going to have to sit down with your spouse or with yourself and review that credit card statement and be like, yeah, I needed to go to Sephora. I don't know what you're talking about. So force yourself to keep track of what you're spending and only spend what you have. Don't go beyond your means. And this is part of the problem that we have as a society, is we have been trained to live beyond our means. We've been trained to want more. And over time, the more just keeps increasing. Have you ever noticed, like, when you get a raise, that a year later, it doesn't seem like you got a raise? Well, that's called lifestyle creep. And it's really, 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 really easy to do. If you're looking at cutting back, you need to take a hard look at what your actual needs are. Like, you need to pay rent, you need to pay the electric bill. But on the same hand with the electric bill, do you need to keep all the lights on? No, you don't. You could cut back on that. Do you need to have the thermostat set at the coolest temperature in summer? No, you could cut back on that. So there are a lot of things that you need, and sometimes that bleeds over into wants, and you have to discern between the two and be really, really hard on yourself to make those changes. But just remember, every dollar that you don't add to your debt, every time that you don't spend money and add it to your debt, that is a dollar more that you can put to paying off your debt. So you need to know exactly what you're working with, and to do that, we're going to need a whiteboard. If you want to do this while we're doing the video, that's great. You're going to need to pause the video and go get your credit card statements. The things that you're looking for in your credit card statements are the balance and the interest rate. Most likely the interest rate is going to be on the third page on the back side of your credit card statement. You'll be able to find the interest rate there. If you have a lot of pages to your credit statement, it's going to be on the back side of whatever the last page is, most likely. You'll also need to record what the minimum payment is. We need all of that information so we can figure this out. And this part can feel really scary because you're actually going to have to look at those numbers. And if you're like I was a couple years ago, the last thing I wanted to do was to look at those numbers because that was terrifying. But you can't get the debt paid off if you don't know how much debt you're in. There are two different ways to pay off debt. There's the snowball method and the avalanche method. The snowball method works by paying off your smallest debts first. So that means like if you have a $300 charge and a $3,000 charge, the $300 charge is going to get paid off first because it's the smallest. The avalanche method instead takes a look at what are the interest rates. So if we're using the avalanche method to pay off the 300 and the 3,000, we would take a look and see, well, what interest rates are they sitting at? And let's say the 300 was sitting at 5%, while the 3,000 was sitting at 19.49%. Well, we're gonna pay off the 3,000 first because it's costing us more money. That's kind of one of the problems with the avalanche method is you don't see a lot of progress really fast, especially if you have a lot of debt, because it takes a while to get that debt paid off. The benefit of the avalanche method is that over time, you're not paying as much money out in interest as you would if you use the snowball method. So you will be saving yourself some money. And that's money that you can then have allocated so you can pay off even more debt. So which system is better? It depends on how you think. That's it. It comes down to that. How does your brain work? If you need the gratification of seeing progress and crossing things off the list, if you need that, then you're probably going to want to go with the snowball method. If you want to save as much money as you possibly can, then you're going to go with the avalanche method. But what happens if you need the kick and you also want to save as much money? Well, you could kind of combine the two. Maybe you take out a snowball to start with and then you go with the avalanche. So you have that momentum. You're like, yeah, goodbye $300. And now you can then work on your avalanche method. It really depends on how your brain works. One of the ways that you could pay off your debt even faster is to contact your credit card company and see if you could get a lower rate. Will they give you a lower rate? You won't know until you ask. And the great thing is if you don't like the idea of talking to somebody on the phone, a lot of times there's a chat bot that you can get into and you can ask the chat bot if you can get your rate reduced. So you don't even have to talk to a person. You probably have a good chance of getting your rate reduced if you have a good payment history and a decent credit score. The other thing that you can look at is a 0% interest card. Now this is a slippery slope. You have to be super careful on these because it can get out of hand. And let me explain how it all works. A 0% card is a promotional offer on a credit card. So they're giving you 0%, but there are rules and limitations. The 0% only lasts for a set number of months, typically between 12 to 21 months. You have to make your minimum payments on that card during this time. It's not like you get the card and you don't have to pay anything. You do have to make your minimum payments. And you're going to have that card paid off before the time period is up, or whatever you have on the card, you're now going to be acquiring interest on. So you can see if you just made the minimum payments, you're not going to be paying off the card as fast, which means you're still going to have a balance on the card by the time the 0% interest rate ends. And now you have debt that you're probably going to be at a pretty high percent interest rate on. Now, the thing with a 0% card that you have to look out for is what are the balance transfer fees. There is a fee involved. It's a upfront fee. So for every $1,000 that you borrow, you're probably going to have to pay about $30. It's a 3% balance transfer fee, is pretty much industry standard. You might find a card for less than that, but good luck. And the time periods vary from card to card. You might have a card that offers 12 months. You might have a card that offers 21 months. You have to decide what is best for you in your situation. Now here is where the super slippery slope comes into play. If you have, let's say, a whole bunch of credit cards out there and you owe a lot of debt, and you open up a 0% card and you transfer as much as you can over to the card, there will probably be a limit on how much you can transfer. Now, all those credit cards you just cleared off all have zero balances. And if you haven't got your spending under control, what you're going to most likely do is start spending again on those credit cards. And now by the time the 0% card is up and you've only been making the minimum payments, now you're just as far in the hole as you were before, plus you now owe the 0% card, which now is not a 0% card anymore, and now you're paying like 19.49% on that card. So you can see, if you don't have that 0% card paid off, and if you aren't disciplined about your spending, you can just get yourself right back in the hole, an even deeper hole than you started out in. And that's why you have to be really cautious about doing a 0% card. The other thing you have to be cautious about is doing a consolidated loan. Now, a consolidated loan you can get through your bank or your credit union. I would suggest that you go with a credit union because the interest rates are going to be better. A consolidation loan just means that they take all that debt that you have and they consolidate it into one amount. The bank then pays, or the credit union pays off all those credit cards. They don't trust you with the money. They pay the credit cards directly. And now you have the consolidation loan. Consolidation loans are going to vary based on what your credit score is, on what the interest rates are. But you are going to be paying an interest rate on that. But a consolidation loan might be for 4 years or 5 years. So you can see that's going to be a lot longer than, say, like 15 to 21 months. But you are going to be paying interest on the consolidation loan. And just like that 0% card, if you haven't got your spending under control, you're now going to have a consolidation loan with all of your debt. You're going to have that payment and you're going to rack up your credit cards again. So it really just all circles back around to getting your spending under control. The one thing that is good about a 0% card and a consolidation loan is that it condenses all of your debt into one payment. So you can focus on making that one payment and paying as much as you can towards that payment. So you can get rid of that debt as fast as you can. This is where you need to start looking at your money and what you spend your money on. You might be able to cut a subscription that you don't use, cook at home more often, and even make the cup of coffee. I know this is tea. Even make a cup of coffee at home before you go to work. The one that hurts the most is stop getting takeout. And this transfers into getting rid of the debt even faster. You take a look at all of your spending and you figure out where you can cut back at, because every dollar that you cut back is another dollar you can throw at that debt and get rid of it. So you need to take a hard look at what you're spending money on. For me, it's getting a cup of coffee. That's mine. I like a cup of coffee. I like that place that has the coffee that's frozen as basically an adult coffee milkshake. I love those, but I don't love the price. And I figured out a way to make it at home for less. I still have the benefit of the coffee. I still have the benefit of it being really cold. I also have the benefit of I don't have to drive anywhere, which I really like. And it gets me more money to put to debt. The other things you can look at cutting back on are different subscriptions that you have. We just recently reviewed our subscriptions and we're like, we forgot we had these subscriptions. So we went through and we cleared off our subscriptions, saving us about $70 a month in random subscriptions. The other thing you need to look at is when you're looking at subscriptions is a lot of times we have annual subscriptions and we completely forget, which is what they're banking on, that we have the annual subscription. So when you're looking at your expenses and you're reviewing your credit card statements, look for large ticket items that show up. Typically, like November, December is when a lot of people purchase subscriptions because they're on sale, and then decide if you want to keep them or not. The other thing that you can do is if you have a subscription that slipped through the cracks on you, immediately go in and cancel that subscription so at least you don't have it again next year or next month. In addition to that, I've had good luck with calling up the companies or contacting their customer service and saying, hey, I don't want this subscription anymore. I get a refund on the money. And I've either gotten a full refund on the money or a partial refund on the amount that I've spent, and they've canceled the subscription immediately. Now, the other thing that you can do to save money is to cook at home. And if you're like me and you positively absolutely hate cooking at home, This is a bummer, but it does work on saving you money, because rather than going out to eat and spending at least $50 on a meal nowadays, if you go out to a sit-down restaurant, and at least 25 to 30 if you go to a takeaway, you're at least saving that money when you plan what you're cooking and you cook at home, even if it's a frozen pizza. So by doing all these little things and changing the way that you look at your money and you spend your money, you'll have more money available to you to then throw at your debt and get rid of your debt that's costing you more money. Because every dollar that you have that goes to debt gets you a step closer to having that debt paid off. But how can you add more dollars in after you've cut back on everything else? That's where side hustles come into play. And there are a lot of different things that you can do to earn money. It just depends on what your area of expertise is. For example, my area of expertise is public relations, media relations, designing websites, building websites. Pretty much all things PR and marketing are my areas of expertise. So I'm able to pick up more money from clients hiring me to do those jobs. And that's one of my side hustles. Paying off credit cards isn't just about the math. It's not about figuring out, okay, where's the highest interest rate? Where's the highest debt? What can I get paid off the fastest? It's about your mindset. And like so many things in life, it completely depends on how you approach it and how you handle the entire picture. Because if you don't get your spending under control, if you don't evaluate what your wants really are and what your needs really are, then you're going to wind up continue to spend well beyond your means, which means you're going to continue to be in debt. And one thing that you can do to rein all that in is to audit yourself on a weekly basis. Take a look at what you're spending and evaluate it. That means that you're going to sit down and you're going to look at what did you spend, even if you just have to keep all the receipts. Take a look at what you spent. Did you need to buy everything that you bought at the grocery store? My biggest fault is buying fruit that I'm probably never going to eat. And that's one of the things that I changed when I go to the grocery store is I only buy fruit that I'm going to eat within the next 2 days because I really like fruit. And it's hard for me to say no to a plum. Now for fun spending, you might want to do something like a cash envelope, which is where you literally put cash in an envelope and that is your fun spending. And the great thing about this is when the cash is gone, you're done spending. I actually use this when I go estate sale shopping. I have a set amount of funds in a little bag, and the little bag is, if it's empty, I'm done. That's it. But my goal is to get everything that I have on my list of things that I need to get and to still have money left in the bag because I might really want that coffee. So if you change your habits and you change your mindset, then you will be able to affect your bottom line and you will be able to manage your finances better. And the great thing about this is when you make that final payment to your debt and you get it paid off, now you have even more money available to you that you can put towards an emergency fund, you can put towards retirement, or you can increase your vacation fund, or maybe increase that fund money. Because now you're not putting it on credit, you have more money available to you rather than you paying for borrowing money in the first place. If you found this helpful so far, be sure to hit like and subscribe and put in the comments what your biggest goal is financially this year. And don't forget to grab my free Money Basics Budget Planner. The link is in the description below. It is completely free to you and it will help you get control of your money by looking at how your finances work. Just imagine how it's going to feel when you make that last payment and now all of your money is yours to spend as you wish within your budget.